On today's show,
Why in the world did Trae Young get ejected? And why on flat earth are the Celtics worse than last season?
before the Lakers host the Clippers on NBA TV, Jared Greenberg joins us to discuss if the Lakers should shut down LeBron.
And KD's water filtration system stars in new weekend whoopsies.
It's Monday, March 4th. The starter starts now.
Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to The Starters, presented by Jack Daniel's Old No. 7 and Tennessee Honey. I'm J.E. Skeets, alongside me as always, Tass Mellis. We got the Aussie Lee Ellis, and over yonder, that's the bearded one, that's Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
Hey, yo! Trey, what's up?
Well, I'm here at the internet looking for your best tweets at hashtag The Starters. And guys, one of the biggest stories online today is Kevin Arnovitz's ESPN profile on the inner workings of the Phoenix Suns. And tucked within that profile is one of the best NBA animal stories you'll ever hear. 4 years after naming Ryan McDonough general manager, owner Robert Sarver acquired some live goats at an event at Talking Stick Arena and planted them in McDonough's office. The stunt was both a practical joke and a message. The Suns should find a goat of their own. The goats, unaware of their metaphorical connotation, proceeded to defecate all over McDonough's office. The same exact thing happened to a girl in my high school who brought a goat in for a speech. You can't trust goats. But this brings us to today's question. What is the funniest NBA animal story? And to me, there's nothing better than Mike Miller's monkey, Sonny. As he told Hoop Magazine back in the day, I left the house one day when I was in Orlando and I got a call later from my neighbor who said that my dogs and monkey were walking around the neighborhood. Sure enough, when I got home, my monkey was riding the Great Dane and they were walking up and down the street. He'd unlocked his door, gone downstairs, and opened the door for the dogs and taken them for a walk. How did that seriously happen? Crazy. But we want to hear from you, so let us know on Twitter what is the best NBA animal story. Send them to us at hashtag The Starters. We'll hear from you later.
All right, get your tweets in. On tonight's show, Jared Greenberg joins us live from Los Angeles to set up tonight's pivotal Clippers-Lakers game.
too early for
I'm
pivotal
using
with that,
pivotal
man.
already. We got new weekend whoopsies. We got a very solid play. We even got a wedgie. But we start with a new segment here tonight called Tell Me Why, featuring the Backstreet Boys themselves. Trey, explain.
The Boston Celtics snapped their 4-game losing streak on Friday, but got right back to their losing ways on Sunday in a lifeless performance against the Rockets. The C's won 55 last year, went to Game 7 of the conference finals, but they're currently the East 5th seed on pace for 48-ish wins, so...
Tell me why.
The Celtics are worse than last season. Thanks, Nick Carter.
It's a good question.
This team doesn't believe Kyrie Irving should be their leader. I think that's why they're not number one in the Eastern Conference, because they've got all the talent in the world. It's a question of chemistry and not talent. And if you look back to last year, everybody was comfortable in their roles. Kyrie Irving can be the number one option on a championship team. I do believe it. But it's not working on this team because I think 2, 3, 4, 5 down the line don't believe that Kyrie should be there. And part of it is what happened last year, and that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were in these roles and comfortable. And maybe they want to get back to those roles. I think that's a part of it, as well as Kyrie Irving maybe not having sort of the pedigree that LeBron has, and he's sort of taking on that role. I do think he could be that guy, but I don't think the rest of the team really believes it, and that's why they're here.
There certainly is a big problem within that locker room for sure, because they're basically 10 points down when they start a game. Against Houston yesterday, the Rockets came out and didn't really have all that much pressure under them. They got out to a 28-point lead, and then the Celtics decided to fight. Whatever the problem is, Brad Stevens is the one who has to try to figure it out, and he's tried a few lineup changes. He's trying to find a few different rotations. It doesn't really seem to be working. So someone has to basically, I think, go into the locker room and say, okay, this guy is a leader or this guy is, and we have to follow what that person, as that person sets the tone, because Kyrie's got the talent, there's no doubt. He's one of the best players in the league, but for whatever reason, he can't get that out of the other players, and they don't want to seem to be able to. There seems to be Kyrie over here and then the rest of the guys over here, and when Kyrie's not on the court, they seem to play better. And when he's not played in the past, when they've won games where he hasn't played, and they're losing games when he has, there seems to be a message being sent there somehow, whether or not they mean it or not.
Yeah, this is a tough question to answer because it is perplexing because they have all this talent. I think it's a bit of everything, though. It's first off, like there's the heightened expectations for this team compared to last year. It's night and day because they bring Gordon Hayward back, former All-Star. They bring Kyrie back, coming back from his injury late in the season. You think they're just going to roll because they have all these young guys that are in theory going to get better. You got a good coach. It'll all work. But it hasn't because they haven't lived up to these expectations because poor leadership. I think both Kyrie and coaching with Stevens there and the leadership part as well. And then, yeah, the chemistry, they just don't seem to like each other. They don't play all that hard for each other. But we showed you the stats there. They're still a really good team. This is a team that still is, top 10 in both offensive and defensive categories, can score the ball. When they play well, we're like, yeah, they're one of the better teams in the league. But they don't want to go, they don't want to fight. At least a lot of the guys don't seem to want to fight every possession. There's a handful. Jaylen Brown's been playing really hard lately. Some think he might be inserted back into the starting lineup just to try something new. Because when you start this game, like you said, against the Rockets, you're just in a hole.
Yeah.
You're just digging yourselves off the entire game. I mean, you can't keep doing that time and time again here. But this is confusing. I think there's enough blame to go around to everyone, though, not just Kyrie.
I'm not blaming Kyrie, but the locker room isn't flowing whatsoever.
Yeah.
Their defense was second in the league last year.
Yeah.
And why does that fall off? Is that
only fifth,
It's
though.
still fifth. That's my point, though.
and their
it's not
offense has
bad.
got a heck of a lot better
Yeah.
with
That's why
Kyrie
the
Irving
stats
there.
don't support the eye test.
Right.
Because those
Right.
stats, you look at those and you go, okay, it's a good team. But you watch them particularly yesterday and they weren't a good team.
Yeah.
No,
They're not in sync.
they were horrible
Yeah.
yesterday, allowing guys to get to the rim. So what's that? That's chemistry. That's
Yeah.
what that is. That's fight.
They have
that's
a four-game
scrap level.
They have a 4-game road trip now coming up. Like they're on the West Coast. That it could make or break them, right? Is that fair to say?
Well,
because it
probably-
could bring them together.
Yeah,
You're
I
getting
mean-
away from Boston and getting away from the
They're not going to fall any lower than fifth in the Eastern Conference. It doesn't really matter what, and they're not going to be that bad, and they're probably not going to get any higher than third. So it's only really a one spot difference that I think they can really change their season on from here.
But they're actually favorites in 3 of those 4 games on the road. It's Warriors, then Lakers, Clippers, Kings,
Yeah.
which you can consider them better teams then at this point. It's just we had high expectations. So them on pace for 48, 49, 50 wins as they are right now is just not enough because they went from 59 to 55 wins last year, the previous 2 years. Now on pace for about a 50-win team. It's a head scratcher, that's for sure, but it's all in that locker room. It just hasn't worked out.
Trey, our next one.
All right, after 3 straight games scoring 36 or more points, Trae Young was on pace for another big game yesterday, scoring 18 points in 18 minutes against the Bulls. And that's when he got tossed after picking up a second technical foul for staring at Chris Dunn. So
Tell me why.
Trae Young shouldn't have been ejected.
Because he didn't do anything. I mean, you said, he didn't touch anybody. He didn't say anything that he shouldn't say out there on a court. He didn't gesture towards Dunn. He just
Did he
hit a
taunt?
deep 3. No. Come on.
I agree, but
come on. Well, yeah,
that's what
I mean,
the referee said.
look, yeah, you're right. The NBA crew chief after the game told
That's
the
a
pool
menacing
reporter.
look.
He told the pool reporter that, he stared him down and was issued a taunting technical foul, and because that was his second technical foul, this had been brewing, right, in this game.
Yeah.
Dunn and Trae got into it. Look, it had been brewing since the game before when Trae Young lit him up. That's the truth here. He put 49 on the Bulls in that crazy quadruple overtime game earlier, and this was a home-and-home situation here, 2 games in a row between these two teams. So when they got into it in the first quarter, the refs did the classic, well, they both get the text here.
He got a
Everybody
tech for being
relax.
hit in the head.
Yeah, I know. The first one was questionable. I mean, Dunn was the one that was visibly upset, pushed Young in the back of the head here, and then, the refs do the thing, okay, hey, stop it, everybody, you're both getting the text.
How
But
is that a double tech situation?
that's not and the one where he hits the 3 and then looks at him, you don't want to lose that from the NBA games. You just don't. It's entertaining. It's entertaining to either drop somebody with a crossover, dunk on someone, block someone, whatever, hit a deep 3, and then to stare at them. People love it, but that's fine.
Chris Dunn didn't even know he was being stared at, he said.
It's
He didn't
ridiculous.
even see that he got that second technical foul. He didn't know what it was. And Chris Dunn actually didn't want him ejected either, because it was a little bit of a battle there. But the referee needs better judgment in this situation, or there needs to be an opportunity maybe for the coaches to appeal it during the game, because he gets ejected. He's out for the entire game. Now, the Hawks aren't going to make the playoffs, but let's say they're in a playoff race and you lose him, you lose this game over a ridiculous call like that. That is very, very harsh and unwarranted. And the Hawks should be allowed to somehow appeal, but it's too late now. The game's over.
Yeah, it's crazy. Trey, our final one.
All right, on Friday, Adam Silver spoke with Bill Simmons at the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference, holding court on a variety of topics, including the All-Star Game, which the commissioner said didn't work, before floating the idea of replacing the game with a preseason or mid-season tournament. So,
Tell me why.
the All-Star Game should be replaced.
Whoa.
I believe Adam Silver, Trae Young, and Kyrie Irving, I think they all like boy bands. I think they all appreciate boy bands. And I appreciate that Adam Silver is sort of addressing the elephant in the room here. All-Star Weekend on Sunday is not a thing. Everybody thinks All-Star Weekend is over after Saturday. And it takes somebody, has a little intestinal fortitude to say, we got to fix this. after Saturday, come on, guys. We all look at each other like, this thing is essentially over. I want to see the Stars as well. We were at that game. It was fun. It was fun seeing Curry drop that pass to Giannis Antetokounmpo. But things can get better. They have to get better.
Yeah.
They have to get better. We have to find a way. I don't see anything wrong with trying some sort of tournament, some sort of international tournament. They've adopted this African League. Maybe in the NBA can play an all-star game against the all-star team of that league, for instance. I would see a couple games like that as a more worthwhile, interesting.
But how long would
Maybe.
this take?
Yeah, like, here's the thing. I think it's important to point out, like, Bill Simmons did not ask Commissioner Silver at the Sloan conference, hey, is the All-Star game broken? Should we get rid of it? You know, what's up with that? The question was about, should we shorten the NBA season? Should we go from 82 to maybe something like 70? And then that's when Commissioner Silver said, yeah, it's a possibility. Of course, we got to keep revenue. You would lose 6 home games. That's a lot of money you're taking off the table. But if we can get that back in some other creative way, then maybe. And what he said was, these maybe sort of preseason or mid-season tournaments of some sort of cup, that it's not the title, but you would want to play for it. And maybe we would use that time of the All-Star game and the All-Star break and do that. Like, that's sort of what he was getting here, is less sort of like, yeah, he did say, you're right, that the All-Star game is sort of didn't work and it maybe is pointless, but he's really talking about these tournaments. Do you think they would work? I know we don't have a lot of time here.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard because there's only one real prize in the NBA, and that's the championship.
Yeah.
In soccer, we talked about earlier, like, there's other prizes you can win. But in the NBA, I don't see anyone really feeling that they win a preseason or mid-season tournament and feeling like they've actually accomplished anything or won anything, which is different in soccer because there are trophies that still have meaning, but they've been around for hundreds of years. And in the NBA, it just doesn't, I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, well, something we can maybe get into on tomorrow's Drop podcast in a lot more detail. When we come back, though, Jared Greenberg joins us live from LA to set up tonight's must-win game for LeBron and the Lakers. Don't go anywhere.
The Starters is presented by Jack Daniel's Old No. 7 and Tennessee Honey.
Tonight on NBA TV, we got a basketball doubleheader. In the first game, we got the Mavs and the Nets, and that nightcap is the Battle of LA. And joining us live from the Staples Center right now to talk Clips Lakers, it's Jared Greenberg.
Jerry Greenberg. Jerry Greenberg. Jerry Greenberg. Jerry Greenberg.
Yes, Jared Greenberg. Still love that theme music. Great to have you, Jared. Let's get right into this, buddy. The Lakers come in to tonight's game having lost to the Suns, the Grizzlies, and the Pelicans in the last week. They're 30-33, 5 full games back from the 7th-seeded Clippers, 4.5 back from the playoffs entirely. I feel like we've been asking this for a while now, but is this a must-win game for the Lakers tonight against the Clips? And do they believe they can still make the playoffs?
Well, I asked Luke Walton that question straight up earlier this morning, fellas, and I appreciate you having me on. And he said it's only a must-win game for you guys, meaning the media, not for them. They feel like they can still lose this game and still find a way out of it. I don't see how, even mathematically, that would be the case because it's almost like a double loss tonight. Yeah. If you lose to the Clippers, if you win, it's almost like a double win because you pick up a game on them and they lose a game as well. But, guys, I tell you, it's going to be a tough road. We talk about all the tough opponents ahead here for the Lakers down the stretch in what is a very difficult schedule. But as you mentioned, Skeets, it's the easy games that have given the Lakers the most trouble so far. Luke Walton called it unacceptable the way the team came out and played the other night against the Suns.
Yeah, it's been really, really wild. One storyline that's actually been gaining some steam over the last 2 days here with the Lakers struggling is the idea that Magic Johnson and the Lakers organization should think about shutting down LeBron James for the rest of the season. You know, forget this playoff race, save his legs, start looking ahead to next season. You know, we've heard Paul Pierce say this on TV. I saw Jay Williams this morning, you know, echoing these sentiments. What's your take on this? Is this crazy talk here, the idea of just shutting down LeBron, or is there some sense to it? What do you think?
No, I think it would be a terrible idea. LeBron James has never been one to wave the white flag. You could say about all the extracurricular projects he has off the court. You could say, you know, all you want about why he came to play for the Lakers. But the one thing you can't question about LeBron James is his desire night in and night out to win. And I would not want to have the remaining 19 or however many games he would sit left on the table for us to say, well, if LeBron would have played, maybe they would have won. Because here's the part of it too, guys. As much as the Lakers need to win, you're also counting on the Kings, the Clippers, the Spurs not to have a collapse. And each one of those teams have had parts of their seasons where you scratch your head and you say, maybe this is not a playoff team. So as much as you have to have confidence in the Lakers, do you have that much confidence in those other teams that they'll be able to succeed? So imagine LeBron sitting down and the Kings, the Spurs, and or the Clippers go into the tank, and now you could have had LeBron take advantage of those games.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I'm with you there. Well, we had some news today. Woj reported today that the Lakers and free agent Carmelo Anthony, they're pausing talks on a possible contract agreement unless the franchise makes a sudden turn here back toward playoffs contention because they've lost 4 of the past 5. So this is wild. But my question off of this, really less about Melo, but more looking to free agency. Do you think the Lakers' disappointing season here, and it's been a huge disappointment, I think we can all agree on that, is this going to possibly cost them in free agency into the summer here, them not being good, maybe not even making the playoffs?
I think so. I'm sorry. I'm just having trouble not laughing about this Carmelo Anthony story because the way I read this story almost sounded like it wasn't the Lakers' decision not to bring in Carmelo Anthony for the final few weeks of the season, but yet Carmelo Anthony's decision because he wants to see if a playoff team would want his services.
Yes.
And the Lakers aren't good enough at this point. What?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. And that's what's interesting about this game tonight with the Clippers. You think about the mentality. Steve Ballmer came and joined us on Game Time a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him straight up, are you going to give up that pivotal draft pick to the Celtics in order to make the playoffs? And he said, yes, I want to make the playoffs. I'm a competitor. And that's the attitude the Clippers have had. Now, maybe you can question it because they traded away Tobias Harris, but there was a lot of reasons behind why they did that. Think about the attractiveness of a Clipper team with 2 max slots available and potentially going to the playoffs with some of these young players. I mean, look how good Landry Shamet looked the other night.
Yeah.
Look how good Zubac looked the other night. And guys, this Laker team, I think that's exactly it. They're going to be going into an offseason potentially by saying, hey, come join us and be our savior with a guy who's 35 years old going into his 17th season in LeBron James.
Final question here, Jared. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. A yes or no. Does Luke Walton survive the rest of the season here as the Lakers head coach? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he does. And I think that report here by Mark Stein is just one that we've all kind of assumed. When the season is over, he will no longer be the head coach. That is kind of the direction. But I don't think Jeannie Buss has any intention of firing Luke Walton before the season's over.
Jared, can't thank you enough, man. Great to have you on the show.
Got it.
Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. All right, when we come back, we got a brand new batch of Weekend Whoopsies. The hoops and the bloops. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the starters. It's time for some Weekend Whoopsies. The hoops and the bloops.
LeBron had a couple rough passes this weekend. The first one goes way into the. He's always got eyes in the back of his head.
Yeah.
Just a little high. We got one later, way worse.
Friday, Blazers Raptors. Little pump fake party there from Serge. So Myers Leonard puts his butt on his face.
Hey, Butka. On Friday, March 1st, Marcus Smart hit all 4 of his threes. He went 4 for 4. Money. So
Okay.
after the game, NBC Sports Boston got a little cheeky. Has not missed a 3 since February. It's true.
See no lies. See no lies. Alex Len forgot he was playing basketball for a second. Decides to kick it up when he was getting boxed out there on a rebound. Now, I can't really blame him. They went to quadruple overtime. He was tired. His mind was wandering. Forgot what sport he was playing. Nice touch, though, there.
Very nice.
Devin Booker, not known for his jams, throws one down hard on Anthony Davis. Watch his teammate, DeAndre Ayton.
Whoa!
Shocked as everybody else.
Nice dunk. Kevin Durant. This is interesting. Trying to drink through the towel that he has wrapped around his face. He was asked about it, and he gave, quite the explanation.
I kind of forgot at that moment that I had it on, and I was thirsty. So hey, it worked though. I had a nice squig on that one.
Okay.
Nice squig. JJ Redick's open in the corner. Hit him.
Was there.
JJ, where you going?
Yeah.
Ben's gonna find you.
Tough possession here for Mike Scott. He's going to attack the rim. Jordan Bell blocks him, and then the ball gets ricocheted off his face.
Oh, is that a doinker? Does that
And
count?
he's standing out of bounds.
That's a doinker, not a classic doinker, but a doinker nonetheless.
Handled it well.
Yeah.
Whoopsie of the year candidate right here. LeBron James inbounding the ball. Oh no, turnover, no.
Yeah.
He said he was trying to lob it over Chandler there. Didn't have the angle. Yeah, that's a rough one. Sunday, Rocket Celtics. Jaylen Brown on the fast break. Yeah, now some people get away with this. Corey Brewer took like 11
bet.
steps once.
Yeah.
But
It's a gather, sir.
yeah, no, that's a travel. I got that one right.
Kyle Lowry has picked up his play since the acquisition of Marc Gasol, and he tries to pick up Mark here. Doesn't work out.
Ooh.
Dangerous.
That scares me. That always scares me.
Watch the groin.
Exactly. But he was all right. He was all right. There it is. Weekend whoopsies. When we come back, Lily, you're going to hit us with a very solid play.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you and your nice new jeans. You've got a story, I've got a story, and you hopefully have an animal story. Hit us up on Twitter, hashtag the Starters. Inside
We got
Jokes.
some good
3 people.
animal stories.
What do you got?
Stefano says Martin Gortat and his pet pig. That's a beautiful pig. Corbin says Melo owning a camel is all that needs to be said. Just look at the pure joy on his face. No wonder he doesn't want to play with the Lakers right now. Billy suggests the Bats
Yeah.
in San Antonio. It's been a long-running story, but my favorite comes from Sam, who says the Lee Ellis giraffe birth play-by-play is heard on a classic Drop podcast. Tune in tomorrow. That's right, about 1 p.m. Eastern.
Nice. All right. Keep your eyes and your ears ready for that one. Okay, Lee,
Yeah.
good news.
Great.
We have a date set for your February pick'em loss, so your payoff.
Great. I do need a little trim on my hair, so I'm looking
It's,
forward to
no.
it.
No.
What, it's not that?
No, you're going to be actually, we're going to be adding some things to you, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Not taking things away. That's on Wednesday. This Wednesday, Lee will pay off his February pick'em loss. Can't wait. Tonight's game, though, Clippers-Lakers. Everybody except Taz taking the Lakers
Love
at
Lakers
home.
picks.
Crazy. Taz has the Clips on the road. I throw that in air quotes. Lily.
Yeah, going out to Charlotte here for a beautiful play from the Hornets yesterday against the Blazers. Didn't get the win, but they can console themselves with this play. Passes around, ends with Jeremy Lamb in the 3. That's what I call a very solid play.
Nice. Got to take you back all the way to Friday for a wedgie, because we show you every single wedgie here on the Starters. Wizards Celtics giving you number 30.
Okay.
Sticking that.
Oh, that's a good one.
Troy Brown Jr., 3-pointer. No doubt about it. That's
Ooh.
That was
no
deep.
doubter
Yeah,
of a wedgie
that's
right
deep.
there.
Very deep.
Very sticky.
30.
All right, 20 to go.
Yeah.
We're getting
Straight
there.
to get to
20
those
to go.
round
Yeah,
Let's
let's
go.
go.
Steady.
Now it's time for the highlight. That wasn't just because the play didn't count. Doesn't mean it wasn't spectacular. This is Blake Griffin along the baseline here, throwing it over the board and down. No bucket, no bucket. You can't throw the basketball over the backboard for a shot. You can throw it over partial portion
Yeah,
of the
that's
backboard,
the
over the
weird
corner,
thing.
but not directly
That
over the
should
backboard.
count. They should count
crazy.
that. It really should. All right, tomorrow is the Drop Podcast. Get your questions in. Hashtag the Starters. Email us thestarters@nba.com.
What's coming next?
I don't know. Thought we had time for fan signs, but we don't. Stay tuned for 10 Before Tip live from the road in Los Angeles with Jared Greenberg. We'll see you tomorrow night. Brace the day, people.